As a scout, my job is to survey the city by exploring the streets. One of the side effects of this type of work is that you notice neighborhoods that have a lot of potential but are not yet exploited. This sparked an idea in my head. Why don't I start a new series called The Next Big Thing, in which I cover neighborhoods that are not yet discovered but will be big in the future. In this first episode, we're going to start with a little intersection in Brooklyn called the Broadway Junction. Let's get started. The name Broadway Junction sort of implies what it is. It is an intersection between Bushwick, Brownsville, Cypress Hill, and East New York. Now, although this intersection falls between various regions, the neighborhood it belongs to is East New York. There are 3 reasons why the Broadway Junction will be the next big thing. The first one is transportation. The second one is future amenities that are coming. And the third one is easy access to nature. Let's take a look at each in details to see what's going on. The Broadway Junction is a transportation haven. In it, you could take the A, C, L, J, Z, and the Long Island Railroad. So why is this important? Well, combined, these lines give you access to practically all of New York City. Need to get to Queens? No worries. The J and the Z is right there. You could even stop at Bushwick on the way. Want to go to Williamsburg? That's not a problem neither. Just take the L train and get off at Bedford. Need to go to Manhattan? That's not an issue. The A and the C is right there. You could take the C or the A express straight to Columbus Circle. Want to go to the airport? Well, just take the A on the opposite end and it'll drop you at an air shuttle straight to JFK. So as you can see, the Broadway Junction is a haven or transportation hub. If you live there, you have access to all of New York City. Now, the second item deals with amenities, and I sort of discovered that amenities were coming to the neighborhood by accident as I was scouting and taking footage. A couple of cabbies started talking to me, and they told me that I wasn't the only one who sees potential in the Broadway Junction. It turns out that the New York City Economic and Workforce Development also sees potential in Broadway Junction and want to do investments there. Now, I went and did a bit of investigation and pulled up their neighborhood enhancement plan. And I'm not going to run through all the platitudes that they've written there, so I'm just going to go through the major points. The first one that is worth noting is that the Broadway Junction is no longer going to be this beaten down train station that you see. They're going to turn it into a transit hub, sort of like the Oculus by Wall Street. So it's going to be a transit terminal, completely modernized. The second one is that there's going to be a supermarket, a higher end supermarket right in the vicinity, probably right across the train station itself. I'm not sure if it's going to be Whole Food, but I do know it's going to be a high end supermarket. The third one is, of course, there's going to be a slew of retail coming to the neighborhood. And lastly, they're going to turn Callahan Kelly Park into a running track and also a cultural hub where people could have farmers market and stuff like that. There is an attempt to bring an academic institution into the Broadway Junction, but that's not a guaranteed. So in a nutshell, this is the reason why you should also invest in Broadway Junction now, is because in the future, there's going to be a whole slew of amenities coming. And by then, Broadway Junction is going to be way too expensive for an investment opportunity. In a concrete jungle like New York, access to nature is a luxury. And this brings me to the third reason why the Broadway Junction is the future, is because right near it, about walking distance, the Ridgewood Reservoir is accessible to you. The Ridgewood Reservoir was supposed to be Brooklyn's main water supply. But when the borough merged with New York City in 1898, Brooklyn decided to use New York City's water supply system as opposed to depend on this reservoir. Now the Ridgewood Reservoir is just a preserved area of nature, and you have this accessible to you if you live in a Broadway Junction about a 20-minute walk away. How convenient. Now, this video can be seen as a historical record of what the Broadway Junction looked like before it got all polished. However, if all that comes in here are stores, then this neighborhood will be sterile. And we don't want that. What it needs the most is you. your initiative to turn this into an organic, organized community. Believe in East New York. Never stop hustling, New York.